Blazing screens, chaos unfolds, crimson law, tales retold, anime wars, blades collide, justice screams, nowhere to hide. Crimson law, judgment reigns, shock critique, breaking chains, blood red ink by the blade, true police for silverhead, elven face. Elven face. Neon skies, warriors clash, pixel worlds, honor smashed, battle cries, vengeance near, crimson's wrath, all self-fear. Thunder roars the verdict grim, mechs explode, lights grow dim, bloodlines torn, broken dreams, crimson law silencing screams. As heroes fall and villains rise, shattered dreams and severed ties, stand and fight, the time is nigh, rising up to do what's right. Crimson law, judgment reigns, shock critique, breaking chains, blood red ink by the blade, truth unleashed for silverhead, elven babes.
Ho, ho, ho. That's what Santa said when he walked into a strip club. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? It's getting close to the holidays, so I don't know. I felt like I'd get a little festive. Not the shirt. The shirt's just my normal. There was a light here, Demon Hunter shirt. So how is everyone doing? It's been on my end at least chaos because I actually sat down and committed to meeting all the deadlines I made for myself. I got all 3 videos out this week. I did it. I actually got them all out. It was miserable, but I managed to do it. Especially because it was a long week at work. I had to work today as well because Thursday rain happened and wind happened, and that makes it really, really hard to set walls when you're framing a house and it's windy. So there's that. So we ended up taking a rain day on Thursday, and I ended up having to work today. Still managed to get everything done though. So I'm kind of proud of myself, and because of that, just because of that, we're cracking one open. I got myself some more Odin's Skull, and we are gonna sip on some of this for the night. Not too much, because the stuff's pretty potent. At least as far as the stuff I drink goes. So cheers. Hope you guys have a nice drink for yourself. Anyway, I saw Jeremy Turner there. Marcel, hello to you. Walls aren't bad. Plywood is a different story. Well, here's the thing: is the way we're doing it. We're doing exterior walls. So the way we're doing it is we frame the walls while they're on the ground, square them up, get everything ready, and then we put the plywood and paper on, so that we don't have to do that once the walls are up. It's much easier to put plywood and paper on a wall when it's laying on the ground. And we have a telehandler, so we have a machine to lift the walls for us. It is an extremely convenient way to do things. So it is it's a problem when you have a fully put together wall and there are like 30 to 40 mile an hour winds going on. It's not a good experience to try and have some fun in that way. Anyway, so before we get into it, we'll continue on with the usual weekly recap. So wasn't around for the Bengals breakdown on Monday. I think I might have mentioned it on Crimson News Network, but this week was kind of a blur for me. I was at a concert for War of Ages. Small venue, so small in fact that the band that we were seeing came by their merch table and just like started hanging out and signing stuff just because they could. Um well, the last time I went to see these guys, War of Ages, I ended up at like a taco shop like near the venue. Um because we hadn't thought about where to eat and we got there early and we were hungry. War of Ages, the band that we were there to see, comes in and sits down behind us. It happened again at this venue. And this time I actually got called out by the band because they recognized the shirt or the t-shirt, this sweatshirt, as part of a tour that they had done earlier in the year, which I had been at. So it was a it was a fun event. In other news, I did read a little bit of manga, so we do have a couple of things to talk about because there were some new releases, things that I'm catching up on. We will be going over the winner of the poll, and then we will be talking about tonight's big winner, which for some reason I don't have pulled up on the critic list tab. I am a tard. Okay. While that is true, bracing requirements in our area made pre-shooting somewhat problematic. Yeah, well, Illinois' entire building code is literally you can walk 5 feet and have a new code. So, a new set of codes, I should say, for building requirements and all that. So, anyway, you guys aren't here to hear me, spend all night recounting my week and talking about how I need a good, strong drink. You guys are here. You want me to talk about anime? You're here because you're just like sitting there, like, all right, man, come on, start cranking out the reviews, start talking about the stuff we actually care about. Nobody gives a shit about your life. I get it. So let's start with a little bit of lewdness. Monster Musume. So new volume of this came out this week. So volume 20. And it's gotten to the point in the series where they're no longer just like introducing new monsters or new monster girls to the whole cast. They are like going on full on escapades and like getting into like long form arcs. And this whole volume was literally all about black market sales of breast milk. So the premise of like this entire arc that they're doing in here is that our main character here in the background, Kimihito, is he's basically recruited by the government to start investigating a bunch of like shady happenings because the usual team can't get involved. So he basically has to go and like get involved in a bunch of like weird like I almost want to call them sexcapades because there's so much there's so much milking going on in this volume. There's basically 3 different things that this guy ends up investigating, like a succubus daycare place. That one was kind of weird. There was also one with like honeybee and ant girls and like yeah, that one was kind of weird. Oh, there was the plants and shit, and then a black market for breast milk. Disgusting. Where? Anyway, it's entertaining because it's pretty ridiculous like what goes on here, but I do kind of understand the sentiment with Monster Musume. It is a little bit on the furrier side of things. I'll give it that. And not a lot of like the designs are particular like, oh wow, yeah, that's what I'm into. Especially not when you're dealing with centaurs and Arachne, I believe, was the name from the Spider Girl and the Horse Girl. Not into that stuff. Snake Girl's all right. She's a little kooky, but she's all right. And it's an otherwise entertaining series just because it's ridiculous. Not that I would say that this is something for everyone, but I'm in this deep so far. I was like bored looking for I apologize for that. I was bored looking for something to read, and I happened to end up catching up on this. 20 volumes in, I give it a 7. I will say that there are a lot of titties in it if that's what you're looking for, but to each their own. Another thing with a decent share of titties. We're bringing this one back up. I do believe I covered this last week, but I am caught up to where they have the full volume releases. So volume 4 was the last one I read. And I will say, I gotta appreciate the number of bathing scenes that the author puts in this manga. Like full on, I'm pretty sure there's like 1 or 2 bathing scenes in every volume of this manga. And correct, there is an incoming anime adaptation for this one. And that's kind of why I was tempted to look at it. And I will say, from the trailer that I've seen versus like the art of this series, I'm kind of disappointed in what I saw out of the trailer because the art for this one is phenomenal. It's actually really good. Plus, this one also has the really funny gimmick of it will show any girl's titties in the bath except for the main girl's. They're always covered by her hair. Seraphina's tits are always covered by her hair, but you know, the dwarf girl, that's okay. The servant girl, that's fine. The priestess, yep. Yeah, get it all. And I mean, it's a good story so far. Like, I've enjoyed it. It is not like the most refined or polished kind of storytelling. It does feel a little bit like rushed and haphazard at times, but in spite of that, it's still very enjoyable. It still has a good idea of like setting up concepts for endgame and establishing an actual story and a world. It's done a good job of making things interesting in spite of its roughness. I do recommend checking out this manga if the anime for this was interesting to you. Right now, I feel like the manga is probably going to be the better experience than the anime. So, who knows? The last one I have is not quite as lewd. There are some like bonus panels and stuff that come with this that are, you know, that do have some interesting designs and stuff like that. But generally speaking, this one's pretty wholesome. And this is The Frontier Lord Begins with 0 Subjects. Tales of Blue Diaz and the Onikin Alma. I might have talked about this one at some point in my channel's history. And I actually do enjoy this because it is a very like slow burn nation building series. And this is also one that is getting an anime in the near future. Is it Realist Hero? No. But it's still very entertaining. I still do really like it. And basically the premise of this, if you guys aren't familiar, is the guy with the giant battle axe here. This is Diaz, okay? Or Diaz, however you want to say it. And he is a war hero who is given territory on the edge of the kingdom by the king. And now he is unfortunately caught up in some political strife that robs him of a lot of the resources he should have gotten. And literally starts from 0 in building up a new territory in what is effectively viewed as cursed land that can't be used for anything. Now, he's fortunate in the fact that he meets this girl right here, the Onikin Alna. Makes a very good positive impression on her. And she immediately is just like, you know what? I'm going to be your wife. And that's how they get their whole village thing going. So there's a decent, like, this one getting an anime adaptation is interesting because there's a decent bit of like actual action that happens within this series. But at the same time, it also does a really good job of balancing that action with a lot more of like the detailed world building and like fitting characters into their roles and everything, and having some good comedy, family elements, all that stuff. It's actually a light novel series, from what I understand. That is, getting adapted into a manga, so there's probably way more on the light novel side. But I do genuinely think that this has been a fun read for me, one that I have very well enjoyed. 10 volumes in, and I think there are 2 volumes that I have to read through. Sounds kind of a lot like Banished from the Hero's Party, but mixed. It's not necessarily like him being banished from anything. Like, he's given the territory specifically because people believe he's actually going to be able to do something with it. Because we're talking about effectively, DS is a one-man army. That's why he has so much renown, why his name carries so much weight. But yeah, I've enjoyed this one. I think it's worth a read, and maybe even the anime will be. He is kind of betrayed, but it's not like they're just pawning him off in the middle of nowhere. He gets sent out there specifically because it is believed that he'll be able to do something. He gets betrayed, or he gets screwed over by some of the other, high profile people in the nation who steal all of the money and manpower that would have gone to him to help develop the land. And that, I think, actually turns out to be a kind of blessing in disguise for this guy, because given the circumstances, if he would have shown up with a ton of people and resources, he might not have been able to, make the connections that he does right off the bat. It would have been very hard to get in good with the Onikin if he had come with a very large entourage. Is this the one that he has reported dead? So that is whore fiance princess. No. He is not engaged to anyone. In fact, he considers himself to be a little bit too old to be getting, like, I think he's in his mid-30s, I believe. So like he's a little bit of an old dude. Sorry to insult anyone out there. But given these kinds of stories and the setting, 35 would be considered pretty old. I think Alna is like 16 or 17. So there's a really weird age gap there, but they're both really good characters, and he is very, very reserved on the whole idea of marriage and everything. He is don't take it too personally, okay? Don't take it too personally. But yeah, this one's fun. Also, like it has a really good cast of like characters at the center of the whole thing. So all in all, fun show or fun series. I'm kind of looking forward to the anime to see what's going to come of it. We haven't gotten a trailer yet, so I don't know what the animation and stuff is going to look like, but we will see. So that brings us on to the one of the big topics for the night. So last week, everyone voted, and on the poll, Rainbow Days was the winner. So we are going to move on into the second segment of the night, and that is talking about Rainbow Days. So here we have my review up on Criticlist. If you guys all want to go over there and see it, I gave this a 7.5, which I enjoyed it. Okay, I have certain issues with it, but I still enjoyed it. So, and that can really be summed up in the first 2 points I make here. It's fun. I would be hesitant to recommend this anime though. And here's why. Let me actually make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see a little bit better as to what's going on with this. I don't know. He's usually super busy on Saturdays, so cheers. Maybe we'll get some of that out later, but I still have soda. So, speaking of Arceus, I will say, I got to talk to him at like 12 last night, and I told him that because of this anime, if I ever met him in real life, I would break his kneecaps. That'll make more sense as we go into this, okay? Like me saying that it's a good anime, but being pissed about it will make more sense as we go into this. Okay, so is this a contradiction? It may seem so, but hear me out. There's no actual problem with the content of the show, of the whole show. Like, I actually had a really good time watching this, and that actually does lend to a little bit of the problem I have with it. I think it's actually a decently entertaining comedy with a good cast of endearing characters and a good romantic plot. It does a lot of things really well. Not the funniest thing out there, but still entertaining with its sense of humor. Not the greatest romance out there, but still a solid romance. Characters, I do really like a couple of the dynamics that they have, okay? The main group of characters is actually a pretty fun bunch of people. On the side of the guys, you have the main character Hashiba and his circle of friends. So you have the blue-haired one who is, the reserved gamer nerd and everything. You're just in time for the review on Rainbow Days. I was telling them that I was going to break your kneecaps. So yeah, the blue-haired guy is, the reserved gamer nerd. He likes manga and all that stuff. Very like shut off and cold on the surface. Then you have, the red-haired dude who is the outgoing womanizer, the playboy of the group. And he has a younger sister that he is very, very protective of. Oh, geez. Well, I hope nothing bad happened. And then we have the third friend who is the fake nice guy with an S&M fetish. So basically, he is a dom looking for a sub, and he carries a whip around with him everywhere. And a lot of girls fall for him because he can be like really nice and everything. And then he'll just be like, "Yeah, well, do you want to get whipped?" So anyway, I will say honestly, there were some fun dynamics going on just within that friends group in the series, and it gets better as you are introduced to more of the female half of the cast. So for every dude we have in here, there is the respective love interest. So we have Hashiba, our dopey main character, gets paired up with the very aloof girl who doesn't really seem to understand that there are a bunch of people hitting on her and all that. And Kobayakawa, I believe her name was. she's an endearing character. So then we have, the guy who is the playboy womanizer gets matched up with a man hating tsundere that he loves to call the spitting woman. And this is probably the best dynamic of the whole series. I like the whole interactions between this guy and girl. Like, these are probably some of the funniest moments in the entire series with how they are portrayed, especially the fact that like he's actually always tries to be like really nice to her and everything, and she's just like totally fucking standoffish and all that, even though like you can tell like she kind of actually likes the guy. Um, so then of course, the quiet nerdy dude, the one you would least expect to actually have like any sort of romantic attachment to anyone, is the one who has a girlfriend the whole time who is his complete polar opposite. This like bubbly, outgoing Gyaru type who's like constantly like super cheery and getting everyone involved with it. And then the sadistic dude, he ends up finding he the girl he's been looking for in our red-haired playboy's younger sister. And that's a funny interaction there where like she is fawning over this dude the whole time, and the older brother is just sitting there like, I will fucking kill you, I will fucking kill you. I will say that this combination of characters makes the slow burn romance a lot more enjoyable, since there's a good bit of comedy to go with it. It does take a little while to actually get to any sort of like major romantic developments. It is very slow in rolling that out. Now, mind you, these are like 13-minute episodes, and there are 24 of them, so it's only really like a 12-episode series. However, it does take a little while to sort of get into it. And them actually being able to use the characters and like make some fun out of it makes the series a lot more watchable than if it hadn't been, willing to engage in some comedy and shenanigans in the meantime. And the fact that all the guys and girls seem to be pairing off so neatly makes for a very satisfying romance anime to watch. So basically, like, everyone has their own love story in this, so that's nice. And all in all, I do have a good impression of the series. I would say it is a very like fun, watchable anime. But here's the problem. There's just one teeny tiny little issue that bugs me. This anime doesn't finish. It doesn't come to a conclusion. The episodes stop, but the series does not conclude at episode 24. Anyway, this came out in 2016, and I'm writing this review in 2025. There is no season 2 yet. A dissatisfying conclusion when your last act is for the two main characters. This is spoilers, by the way, for everyone. And for the two main characters to realize their feelings for each other, but not actually confess. I'm a little perturbed, but yeah. I got news for you. That means you're gay. So the big issue with this is that the last episode hits a point where like the girl that Hashiba has been pining after this whole series finally realized, oh, I'm in love with this dude. And she realizes that, like she has these feelings for him, and the series ends on that. Hashiba has been in love with this chick the whole time. She just realizes that she's in love with him. And that's where it ends. It is a huge blue ball moment. I honestly feel like it is a very anticlimactic way to end the series, especially when you can't expect a season 2 to ever come around for this one. Now, it is an easy problem to resolve if you are, into reading manga and everything. But if you aren't a reader and you just want to watch anime, you will probably be pretty upset with the way that the last episode ends. All in all, I think it's actually a pretty solid anime, if not for the problem of it just ends on a very like you're right there kind of moment. Like you are literally right there on the verge of greatness, and you just nope. See, the difference between this and dating sim is this is actually enjoyable. Dating sim is not. So that's what it's supposed to do, man. Read the manga. I feel like if you're going to make an anime, you should conclude the fucking anime. It did more than 99% of romances at the time in 2016. Sure. Doesn't excuse it doing something fucking. It doesn't excuse its fuckery. The anime didn't address. Oh, fuck off. Hey, you guys are just going to have to get over the fact that you're gassing up a mid-anime. I'm sorry, but really the only reason I will even remotely consider watching season 2 is because I liked the 3 main characters in the series, Angie, Olivia, and Leon. I liked them. Nothing else about the series was satisfying. When it comes to this, though, I actually do kind of want to see where it goes because I'm invested at this point, okay? I want to see what the hell happens. Well, that's your opinion. That is your opinion, okay? Anyway, so Rainbow Days, I had fun with. Like I'm kind of happy with what I got out of it. Like it was not in any way a bad anime. Slow a little bit, yes, but overall I did enjoy it. I actually was able to like sit down and be invested in what was happening. I wasn't sitting there wanting to skip through it or turn up the speed on it because I was like, oh God, fucking kill me watching it. Dating sim. At the end of the day, this is a little bit more on the side that I enjoy. Now, I will say that I feel like Arceus might have overhyped this a little bit, but by no means is this bad. Like a 7.5 on a show it's a good entry. It's something that's at least worth recommend or not. It's at least worth checking out. So, with that said, I would like everyone to start getting their suggestions for this upcoming week's poll ready. And I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll see how I'm able to stream over the next couple of weeks. I kind of want to. I probably will end up picking it up if there are, volumes available. Like if I can get it digitally, I probably will because I do read a lot of manga digitally over lunch. It's just really easy considering I get my hands dirty and shit for work. To just read things on my phone. So, again, y'all, I would appreciate you guys, getting your suggestions out in chat for what the next poll is going to be, what our options are going to be. So, this one was a pretty close race this week. We had two that were like basically neck and neck, and one of them just barely lost. So, Chio's School Road at 35%. Lost outs to Welcome to the NHK. Nice. All right. Probably a series that I will end up binging in the near future. Cool. So, next week we will be watching and reviewing Welcome to the NHK. And I have no doubt at all that Muffler Tape is the one who suggested that. So, also, hello to JM, the Elite fan. Appreciate you being around. Muffler Tape is happy. Marcel, I got you on this next one. I enlisted help for votes. Okay, so we will be taking some notes as to what we are going to put on the poll next week. So we have Chio's Chio School Road. I will break your kneecaps a second time. No. If this is how we're gonna play it, I will vaporize them with a shotgun. You will never walk again. And then we have Jeremy Turner for the $20. I really appreciate that, man. Holy shit. I feel like so many other animes we've trashed. I feel like with so many of the other animes we've trashed lately, that the ability to adapt to screen is a separate art from that Japan has yet to master. I love that most anime adaptations, but tweak it for the screen. Okay, so we have Chio School Road and Grimgar. I appreciate. As far as adaptations go, I don't know. It's kind of hard because when you're doing an adaptation of literally anything, you do invariably have to make some changes because some things just work better in certain mediums and don't work well in another. Like we had a very long conversation on the Roller Rome cast last night about the idea of adapting video games with multiple endings into a TV show. The problem with that is when it has multiple endings, you are invariably going to my little sister can't be this cute. Oh God. Well, you have to pick one. Okay, just pick one. I'm not going to deny you guys enjoying my suffering and torturing me. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you still are watching the stream and all that. There are just certain things that I am not going to put on the list, like Boku no Pico. My sister, my writer. Okay, so that's 3. There is still one more option out there. Anyway, back to Jeremy Turner's point, what I was going to say with it is, like, there are invariably things that are going to change. And when it comes to the problem of like adapting a manga, and there are going to be certain things that like you're just going to have to do to make it work on screen. I don't necessarily know if like I hate a lot of the adaptations that I've gotten, because a lot of times they do make for good anime. It's just there are certain times where I feel like there is a bad adaptation, or there is an adaptation that didn't do as good as it should have. It's not necessarily that. I mean, I guess in the recent cases there were a lot of times where we could point out where it's just a bad adaptation. But overall, I don't think they have a problem with adapting things. I just feel like it's the nature of the beast. Well, you already have Chiyo's School Road on there, so someone else will have to suggest Yasuga no Sora if you want it on there. I suffered, so you have to as well, even though it won't win ever. Who knows? Who fucking knows? Anyway. So we have 3 options. You guys have until the end of the night. So we have Marcel, Muffler Tape, and let's see. And Arceus's suggestions. Shit. How we doing? There is still one more thing that can be put on the list for anyone in chat to, if they want to, put an anime on the list, on the poll to be voted on. There's an open slot. If it's not claimed by the end of the night, I'm picking one myself. That's how this goes. And with that said, we will move on to talking about the big things of the week, the thing that everyone's here for. The thing everybody wants to talk about. A weekly anime, okay? So, this is where we were last week. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. So, starting off with Tojima wants to be a Kamen Rider. I don't know if anyone checked it out, but I am holding strong on 86. All right. Well, if you're gonna put 86 on there, then we'll put it on the list. Again, other people can throw out some suggestions if they're here, but at that point, it kind of becomes a roll of the dice which ones end up on the poll because there are only 4 slots. So, Tojima wants to be a Kamen Rider. So, our whole group gets together at the bar again, much to there's Ichio and Mitsuba. I forget what the sister's name is. It's something along the lines of like it has 2 in it, or Ni, or Futaba. I think it's Futaba. I don't know if Roman knows of any anime that I haven't already watched, or at least that I have that aren't. Sorry, I should qualify this. I don't know if Roman knows of any anime that aren't on Fictionology's list already. That I haven't watched. So, There's that. Yes, the sister is a badass. So, um, they basically have their drinking party to go over, the end of the tournament and all that, and sort of like start to transition into the next arc. And then we get a shocker showdown between Yukarisu or Yukurisu. Yukarisu. Shocker girl versus the gangster shocker dude. Um and it's really funny to watch the gangster guy um dumpster on the two brothers, and then fucking Tojima and Tackle are just like, yeah, you ain't got shit on us. Tojima and Yukari or Yuriko. It's Yuriko. Can we talk about the V3 confession? Yes. Yeah. That was fucking great. Like the whole episode was just like more so comedy focused. I really did enjoy it. Like it was a fun, entertaining episode of anime. Not quite as like hype as the tournament or anything, or like Tojima fist fighting a bear. Um yeah, and like him forgetting V3, like just the humor was they laid it on thick with the humor in this episode, and I really appreciate that. Um it's gonna be interesting because we have some setup for like the monsters and everything in upcoming episodes. So I am very curious to see what they're gonna do with that. But this one definitely was it definitely was a very funny episode. So with that said, we are going to move on to may I ask for one final thing? And all I've poor V3 lost a lot of aura this episode. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was the butt of the joke for a lot of this. So may I ask for one final thing? All I've got to say is there's a quote from this that I am really fucking laughing my ass off at, and it is, may I kindly knock your fucking teeth out? The way she emphasized the F bomb was, may I kindly knock your fucking teeth out? It was so good. That line delivery in and of itself made this a fantastic episode. So the end of the season, we basically get a wrap up to everything that happened with Terranetza. So she basically ends up, self-destructing because the goddess's power and everything. But not before our the dub's actually pretty good for this one. Anyway, good conclusion, though I wanted to see her with the red-haired masochist. That was never going to happen because she very clearly had a thing for the prince for like most of the series, for Julius for most of the series. And her getting really, really pissed off when she realized she basically got manipulated into confessing her feelings to him so that his blessing would activate. uh this was a solid anime, one that I really, really enjoyed, and they ended on a real high note with that, may I knock your fucking teeth out? that line, like straight up, That one line makes this whole thing worth watching. It's not even censored. She is literally full on just, may I knock your fucking teeth out. There are a few anime that actually drop F-bombs. I feel like I don't exactly remember all of them, but there are a few. And this is one of them. Also, Roman, you would probably be really happy to be Scarlett's punching bag. I'm just saying. I'll have to look into this then. This one I feel like if it never got a season 2, I won't mind, despite all the exciting world building. It was super satisfying. I feel like it was a really nice, contained, like one season story. Like you could probably do some more stuff with this world, and it would be entertaining. But at the same time, I don't feel like this show needs to continue because it wraps everything up quite neatly within the first season. You would effectively be doing something completely different for the second season, and a lot of the dynamic that I think made this work would have been kind of phased out because you already have, you know, that sort of that relationship between the Prince and Scarlet kind of resolved and all that. So it would be, you would have to find another way for Palmia to get involved in all this shit. Isekai, another person, I guess. Anyway, this and Tojima are like two of the anime that really made my season this time around. Like these two right here were like, they're so good. Another one that actually made this season really, really good was My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me. That is another one that is concluded now. It's over. There's no more. And basically we find out that when it in terms of skill, our main character, Aki Oboshi, he is the most well-rounded and established, considering they say he can do anything that the others do at about 80% of the level that they do things at. This one, like I really enjoyed the way that this one, you know, ends here with the whole play thing with Oboshi getting involved in acting and all that to try and take over for Midori and all that. It did a really good job of, you know, emphasizing how Oboshi's nosy nature leads him to helping a lot of people accomplish their dreams, and how he is a like, in spite of him being in a support role for most things, in spite of him being the person, you know, who's kind of behind the scenes, he isn't only a manager. Like he actually has some proper skills and stuff that he can showcase. That's pretty much it. Like with this one, like Iroha is fantastic. Like she's genuinely a really good character. And I've liked what they did with her. Same with Mashiro. She's fun. And the main character doesn't end up letting everyone walk all over him. Like he actually pushes back against the teasing and all the bullshit that these girls get up to. And now, for some reason, I have this like sneaking feeling that Midori, the drama club president, is going to be a, you know, lasting character in this story. Someone who's around for a little bit longer. It would be really funny if they, you know, continue to just stack tsunderes on this dude. It would be really fucking funny if they did that. Um, but yeah, this one honestly much better than I expected it to be. I honest to God thought I was going to be going on a love triangle rant. No, I like this one. I loved this one. They handled everything very well. You get a salute, sir. Oh. So yeah, there's that. I will say though, when it comes to our next entry, Gachi I'll save that thought. They developed her to be this perfect foil, pure emotion versus pure logic. She wouldn't be unsatisfactory to be the one with him in the end. Well, here's the thing: is Mashiro is his cousin, so I'm not really like interested in going down the incest is wincest route for things. Incest is wincest, I guess.
Sweet home Alabama.
But like I like Mashiro as a character, but the whole cousin thing is a little bit off-putting to me, personally. And that's why I lean a little bit more towards Iroha, especially because like her like happy, bubbly nature is a little bit more the thing, the little bit more my type. Okay. Anyway, moving on to Gachiakuta. I got a huge laugh out of two moments in this. Two moments that I am definitely going to go clip and make memes out of, because the scene where they're just they're like driving through the city in the fucking Hummer, and like they stopped like right before they hit the dude and like rolled down, and everyone they're blasting music and everyone has sunglasses on. That is such a fucking great memeable moment. And then even better yet was when we found out what Remlin had done to Zanka's protection spell. The giant arm. There are so many jokes to be made with that. And I feel like this has been a pretty like good conclusion to this whole arc. They gave us some very interesting lore. We got a couple of like really good character moments, especially for Zanka. I feel like the way that this whole thing ended kind of redeems what they did to him earlier in the series. It does a really good job of like characterizing him at the end here, with like he's not sitting here like completely like woe is me, pity party kind of stuff. He literally just sits there and is like, all right, my pathetic ass needs to get stronger, time to work harder. It's interesting to hear. I believe they said that there were it looks like there are going to be some interesting things happening in the near future with Gachiakta, especially the way that they, sort of foreshadowed certain things at right at the end of the episode. But all in all, it was cool. And also, I did find out an answer to my question. Guida is in fact a girl. So there we go. The girl turns into a kaiju. I respect it. I've been very happy with the way that these last couple of episodes have gone. So that one is going to stay exactly there. Isekai Quartet. Let's talk about Isekai Quartet really quick. So, enjoyable episode. We basically begin the get the beginning of the music festival and everything, and we have the rules of the world preventing people from fighting and all that unless they are class 2. And Well, they have to fight a bunch of plants while they do their performance, and then Cocytus loses the sheet music and has a whole freak out over it. And then Shadow shows up to play the piano and everything. So we get to move on into the outro of the series. I believe there is still one episode of I believe there's still one episode of Isekai Quartet left. This honestly was not like my most favorite episode of the series. Like I wasn't as interested in it at this point. So I actually do have to move this one down just because, not because of the Shadow thing, not because of Shadow not playing Moonlight Sonata. It's more so just like I wasn't really all that into it. Oh, God. I cut my finger open on a tape measure today. This is why it's a good idea to wear gloves when you're working with tools or hand tools. But, and this isn't even the first time I've done this in the exact same way because of the way I fucking handle my tape measure. Like an idiot always leads me to putting my finger like on the blade to slow it or to control how much of it is retracting and all that. Well, I was holding it a little bit differently this time, and I put my middle finger up against it. I do have a Fat Max, actually. And the part that I cut myself is actually on the tape itself, not the outer casing. I kind of agree. Like, I feel like at this point, what they should do is begin sort of like rotating out like series and bringing new ones in for new sense of humor. Yeah, because if you let it retract, that metal tape along your finger will cut into your skin if you're not wearing gloves. And it's not the first time I've done this. It's thin enough and it moves fast enough that if you put your finger on it, it's going to cut you. Anyway, Isekai Quartet does need to shake things up. I do agree. Like, if they brought in a bunch of a bunch of different animes for some original comedy based on those, it would be much more interesting. I feel like what they've given us insofar as, like, you know, insofar as the core group that we have is getting a little bit stale. And they do need to think about bringing in some fresh characters because we don't get enough of the other groups to actually make it like interesting. Like, we didn't get a whole lot of focused Eminence and Shadow content with this one. We didn't get a whole lot of focused Shield Hero content with this one. They briefly mention Cautious Hero, but that's about all we get. They're tangential. They aren't as important, and it's kind of disappointing. Gloves are for pussy, says the guy who was missing part of a thumb from a table saw. I don't look, okay. I'm going to be honest with you. Gloves and table saws are a terrible combination, and that's why I almost never wear gloves around table saws. Unless you know, cut your finger on something else on the table saw. Don't use gloves with a table saw. Bad idea. Bad idea. Very, very bad idea. I don't want to think about that. Oh, bring to mind some of the stories people have told me about, like, getting their hands caught in circular saws. Oh, God, no. No. And gloves aren't for pussies. Gloves are for guys who don't want to get 2-inch splinters in their skin. We should do a construction stream. Well, I mean, perhaps it really depends on how things are going to go here in the near future. I may do oh yeah, saws, finger joiners, and planers are a terrible thing to have gloves around. That's just, you know what? I don't want to think about turning my digits into hamburger. So we're gonna move on. Anyway, no, as far as the construction stream has gone, I have kicked around the idea of setting up a camera in the shop for some of the projects I've done for myself. I have a dragon slayer back here. Hold on. Let me let me go get this thing just so I can show it off again. This thing right here. Let's there we go. This thing right here needs a stand. I'm gonna make something for this because I don't know if you've realized, but it's kind of freaking huge. Like this thing, it is like fucking 1-to-1 scale Dragon Slayer. So I actually legitimately have to make a stand for this bad boy. Oopsie. Among other things, there are a couple of other like mounts and stuff you guys can see up here. I have a replica. Like the last word. There's a Daedric sword replica over there. I have a bunch of like prop items that I use for like just like that I have in my collection that I do legitimately want to build stuff for. And I could build stuff for. I've done this kind of like cabinetry and all that before. You have no idea what you have just unleashed over the next few days. Check your DMs. Perhaps not. Anyway. That's all stuff I'm gonna have to take care of on my own. So we're gonna continue on down the line because we have to talk about campfire cooking in another world. So I actually really enjoyed this episode, and if I hadn't been moving Isekai Quartet down already, I would have been moving this one up. So we get the whole, seafood buffet. They arrive at a seaside town, and it turns out that nobody can get out to sea to actually do any fishing because there are monsters out in the sea that are preventing them from taking their boats out. So they go about saving a town, and they have this whole moment where like Fell is like, "Don't worry, I can handle it," and then realizes, "Oh wait, I can't reach this. I have to actually go out on the ocean." So Giant Suey comes in real handy because Suey's basically like a big floating platform in when it inflates. So they go out. They go hunting for a kraken. Also end up catching a sea serpent. And then on top of that, another monster shows up to try and eat a bunch of stuff. So they get a bunch of seafood out of this episode. And then they have the whole squid grilling party. So overall, entertaining show, entertaining episode. I actually kind of liked what they did with this. So yeah, that's kind of that's where we at. That's where we at. Okay. Next on the list is Kashiwada and Ota. So inexpressive Kashiwada and expressive Ota. So this might be a little bit unpopular. I am professional. I am so professional. Just gonna marinate in this stupid for a little while. You know what? It's a good idea to get another drink. There's no such thing as too much spiced mead. Still got a decent chunk of that bottle left. Okay. We still got a couple of good drinks out of this one, eh? Love it. Okay. So I might be a little bit unpopular for this opinion on Kashiwada and Ota, but this one I felt like had a very, very anticlimactic ending. So first part of the episode is the whole bug wrestling, bug catching thing. They do that whole shtick. And then we get the festival day, the festival section. So there was a whole thing about them going around the fireworks show and all that, and they had some good moments with that. Like I really liked Ota coming to her rescue at the fireworks. But at the very end of this series, or at the very end of this show, this season, it feels like nothing really major has happened. The big problem that I have with it overall is just the fact that they didn't really make a whole lot of progress. Sure, they became like friends and everything, and you kind of see that relationship build, but they're both clearly have a thing for each other, and there's no real mention of it from either of them. It felt like it didn't really end up doing much by the end. Still a good show. I still liked it overall because it is entertaining. I just was hoping for a little bit more than what we got out of it. So that one's done. Another one that I thought wasn't as good this time around. One that I thought was a little bit anticlimactic was Yano's Ordinary Days. So we get the whole secret of Yano's eye. We also meet his old friend and everything. So really the bulk of this episode is just Yano freaking out because he is convinced that his eye is cursed. We don't actually see what is up with his eye, at least not to my recollection. But nobody seems to be super concerned about what it actually is. They also, invite a new friend into the group and all that, which is, this chick that Yano used to hang out with. And it's basically just they spend this episode trying to resolve his apprehension about the idea that he may be, cursing people because of his eye. It was kind of a lackluster way to end the season for me, if you ask me. Kind of not the most satisfying ending, but overall, with Kashiwada and Ota, still entertaining, still something that I, can enjoy. Something I would say, yeah, it was worth watching that. And that brings us to Ranma. So with Ranma, I'm moving Ranma down, okay? I can't do this. I can't do this. We have the whole final fight with Moose and everything, and the whole idea of Ranma just not wanting to throw a match. He won't lose on purpose. There was also the whole confusion about Akane getting turned into a duck and everything. That whole cliffhanger from the last episode was basically pointless. I don't know. When it comes to this one, like I haven't been a huge fan of I guess the second half of this season. Like this one has gone from like, yeah, I really enjoy it, I'm having a lot of fun, to okay, I get the point. Cool. And I don't really know if I want to continue watching Ranma from this point on, if it's even going to continue. I have no idea whether or not Ranma is going to get more anime or not. And if it does get more anime, I don't know if I will continue. Anyway, it's one of those things where like I am not super hooked on it anymore. I'm kind of tiring on it. I'm tired of it, boss. I'm tired of it. Okay. I don't know why I'm like an Italian mobster tonight. Nothing makes sense anymore. I could sit and drink a whole bottle of that. It's I love that shit. Okay, so this brings us to a really big winner for the season that really pops off in the last 2 episodes. And that is A Star Brighter Than the Sun. And this one is going all the way up here. Because A Star Brighter Than the Sun has a really, really good conclusion. So last episode we had Iwa confessing her feelings. And then she runs off because she's afraid she's going to get rejected. And then Kamishiro goes after her, and he then confesses back to her and all that. So we do have our 2 main characters getting together within the first season. Not only that, it has a really good cast overall, and there's a season 2. They immediately announced a season 2. So this one, in spite of the fact that I was kind of harsh on it at first, in spite of the fact that I was worried about it, dragging out the confession and everything, it was ultimately worth it. It did a really good job over. I'm very happy with how it ended. And I genuinely do look forward to more. This was well worth watching. It was very frustrating at times, but they really came through at the end. Yes. Yeah, like there was a couple of episodes right in the middle where I was like, okay, you're just blue balling me. You're blue balling me. You're blue balling me. And then they got to the confession in the last 2 episodes, and I was just like, praise the sun. So it goes up there for top 5 of the season. Personally really liked it. Another one that I thought was very good, very well worth watching, that when we got through all of it. Correct. My Awkward Senpai goes up to very good. They ended this so much better than I was convinced we were going to get. Honestly, damn fine ending. Would you take that ending? I'd take that ending. I'd take that ending too. Damn fine ending. So they actually went somewhere with the romance. We got somewhere. Like, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was hard to watch up until this point But the fact that they actually, got somewhere with things made it worth watching. They actually had some romantic development in here. And Senpai goes all the way for the we're gonna do this whole trial period thing. I like you, you like me. Let's get to know each other, okay? 3 months. A fucking yeah, okay. So when it comes to romance anime in general or just a series, I like her. My issue is that when it comes to a series, if you're going to slow burn something, you really do need to make the interim entertaining. It needs to have something that is striking and engaging. For me, I wasn't really necessarily hooked on like the character development stuff. Like Kanawa was endearing just for being awkward and a little weird. Like that's cute. But outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot going on in this series that I was really attached to, but I continued it because it was good enough for me to keep watching. I wanted to see where it was going to go, and I was going to bitch it out if it didn't end well. Well, guess what? I'm not going to bitch it out because they actually got to the point where they're going to be in a relationship together. So, congratulations. The two that ended the strongest were Awkward Senpai and A Star Brighter Than the Sun. Some serious shakeups on those two this week. Like these past 2 weeks, like these two, Awkward Senpai and Star Brighter Than the Sun. Fantastic, seriously good work on those. So, we are going to continue to move on. We are going to continue on, and we are going to talk about a little anime called Unlimited Gacha. So Unlimited Gacha finally wraps up this week, and we see Sasha get absolutely wrecked in all of this. And in all of that, with all of the White Knights basically brutalized and captured, the Elven Queendom is pretty much powerless to do anything as the mage girl comes in and just starts fucking shit up. I do like a little bit that the ending of this one involves Light kind of determining that he isn't going to destroy the world. But ultimately, like at the same time, I'm not super not super sold on this one. Because like the two satisfying parts of the revenge are done. I will give it props that it actually got some revenge in the first season within 12 episodes. Cool. But now I don't really have anything that I'm looking forward to. I don't really have anything that I care about. The story, the maestros, all that kind of stuff, not interested. I got what I wanted out of this series, and I'm frankly completely done with it. It's interesting, but I don't see a point to continuing it any further. Pretty much, yeah. And I appreciate the compliments on the video. So, yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with what I got out of it, but I'm not going to watch more. It's as simple as that. It can stay in the interesting category. In fact, you know what? I'll put it at the top of the interesting category because I actually enjoyed this one. But it's kind of rough. And then that brings us around to Chitose is in a ramen bottle. Chitose is in a ramen bottle, eh? I'm going to be in a fucking mead bottle here in a bit. We're going to wrap this up and then I'm going to drink because I get a 1-day weekend. Yay. And then right back to work all the way to Christmas Eve. Yeah. Hell yeah. Gotta love adult world stuff. Anyway, Chitose is in a ramen battle. So, the blonde dude who is asking about the Chitose's relationship with Yuzuki, I'm pretty convinced that he's the one who is the stalker. I feel like they've kind of telegraphed that whole interaction pretty hard. But I did like some of the things that they did with this episode. I'm not gonna lie. I liked Yuzuki's whole like blow up and everything, and like kind of being mistaken and everything. There was a lot of tension in this episode that keeps building as she's dealing with this situation coming out of her past and all that. And then we have a really satisfying moment where the goons from the other school are just waiting around and then get bodied by the fucking teacher. There were a lot of good moments, but again, there are parts of this show that I feel like it just does either a terrible job of conveying, or there's something just missing from it. Like there's a piece of this story that just didn't get told. So while I don't hate it, I do understand some of the complaints about it being pretentious or not watchable or people not liking it. Like I get it, but I don't think it's that horrible. I feel like it's a decent enough show to watch. Hero Spirit Reincarnator. Honestly, this show just hurts at times. And it's not because of like well-developed emotional moments or anything. You've said in the past that you write a bit. Does this story in general not feel like something that you wrote in high school? Every emotion feels like the raw first experience of it. No, I don't know how I feel about it. How I feel about it is that it almost wants to be more important than it is. I don't necessarily have a problem with the emotions in it or the way they're conveyed and everything. I actually think that some of those things could be compelling. The issue I have is, I guess the best way to describe it is there's this pre-existing connection between a lot of characters that just doesn't make sense to me. It's not some of the things that like are going on between the characters feels like there's history there that I'm not keyed into, that the series should have keyed me into. Or like there's just a piece of this story when it comes to Chitose that is missing and not very clearly elaborated on. Like I get the idea that he feels like he has to be performative in all this. Like he's stuck in this role and he doesn't necessarily want to do all these things. He finds them to be a hassle and all that. Like he needs help too. I get all of that stuff. I see that. But at the same time, I feel like there's just something at the core of it that isn't conveyed properly. And it comes down to whether you just get it or don't. And there's nothing rational about that I could say that would make sense. It is a series where you either just get it or you don't. And I'm probably one of those people who just doesn't. And no, I mean, you know what? That's another thing. Hold on. We talked since you brought up, writing in high school and everything. Someone gave me this back. And if you don't know what this is, well, it's because I've never showed you. So, if you've ever heard the term dark history, that's what this is. That's what this is for me. This is an old rough draft that I wrote. Let's see how many pages are in here. Almost 400. Some actual Crimson Law Dark History in physical form right here. I have 2 of these, maybe even 3 of these, laying around in my room. I should burn them, but I'm not going to. $400-page rough draft of something that I wrote. So, yeah. I almost feel like I should take a drink just for talking about that, but you reminded me. I figured I would, talk about some of the things that every episode of Chitose makes me think of cringe ass songs I wrote in high school. There are vignettes of moments that, when revisited, I feel like should be set ablaze. Yeah, that's how I feel about looking at that stuff I just showed. And there's a title page and everything. I am not showing anything. You get the back of the book, okay? The back of the book is all you'll ever get to see. So I kind of understand the feeling. Anyway, Hero Spirit Reincarnator. This show is painful to me because it's not, at times it's just so, I don't know why it does what it does. Like it's almost like the author had a plan at the beginning, and then midway through, or like 3 episodes, or like, I don't know, like the first volume in or whatever, decided to do something completely different. Like it sets up this idea of like, oh, Ellen has these very particular powers, and they are like super like useful and everything, and people should, and they should be kept secret, because if people find out what she can do, there's going to be some fuckery involved. But those powers don't really end up being like super central to the plot. So why introduce them the way that they are, the way that they're introduced? Why put so much emphasis on them at the beginning of the series if they aren't going to be something super important? It goes from like wanting to be a typical isekai power fantasy straight into like this weird political drama where the king is doing a bunch of convoluted stuff to fuck with one of the most important houses in his entire kingdom. Like, you're going to fuck with the house that gave you your country's hero and knight captain. Are you stupid? Yeah, like I was looking forward to, like family shenanigans and stuff like we got out of Alma. But no, it turned into like this weird political drama, like I said. And I can't understand why they went the route they did and why they emphasized the things they did when they didn't end up being as central to the plot as they kind of wanted to make you feel. This one, it's just okay. There's 1 episode left, but ultimately it is just okay. All 4 of these need to get deleted because those are done. This next one, though, I do have a little bit of praise for because I liked this latest episode. So, hands off Kotasashi-kun. They fully unsoon Aroma. So like she's now like, I am officially trusting you. Cool. She's not going to be a pain in the ass. Speaking of asses, they decide that she is going to work out her glutes and everything, and there's a lot of emphasis on her butt. I will say though, she's got a nice one. So they go through this whole thing. The girls at the dorm get a little bit jealous that the volleyball team knows who Kota Sashi-kun is, and then a wild vice president. Twice. It's twice now. I'm scuffed. There we go. So, this is kind of where we're sitting now. So, Kota Sashi, I enjoyed this episode. Wild vice president appears and all that, so there's probably going to be something with her in the next episode. But another like decently like, it's an okay ecchi anime. Like, you get a good decent number of illicit shots, but it doesn't have much in terms of actual storytelling. So I appreciate that its protagonist isn't a cuck, but don't change the fact that it doesn't really do much in terms of story, which really matters to me. That being said, I'm going to put Alma in the interesting category. So when it comes to Alma, I like the way that this whole thing ends. So basically, mom and dad get their work recognized and everything, but that ultimately leads them to taking on so much work that they don't have time to be with Alma, and she gets lonely. And you have this whole thing to where like they go back to just sort of being a family and having some fun and all of that. And you get an almost proposal from the guy where he's like, I need you to help me run a company. I was a little disappointed in that, but overall, like the way they ended this one was cute. I did enjoy it. So it honorarily gets to go up into the interesting category. I will give it that. So that brings us to the last anime of the night, and that is Sanda. And fucking finally, I'm done with Sanda, and I will never ever have to watch that shit again, because I feel like I just wasted my time with this show. There's no other way to put it. When it comes to Sanda, I feel like I wasted my time with the show. And this is something I've been thinking about. This should go in the bad category. Like, genuinely should go down here. Yeah. And I honestly feel like I was really excited for Sanda. I was like looking forward to it. I probably talked it up a bit. I was really disappointed with what it did. By the end of the show, I almost feel like nothing has happened at all. Like, they don't deal with Oshibu. Ono dies. So the girl they were trying to find at the beginning, she fucking dies. Like, what was the point of this series? Like, what gets a... I'm sitting here, like, feeling like, why did I waste my time? And this is another one that I genuinely think deserves to go down in the bad category. I'm not going to defend this. Like, this anime sucked ass, okay? I genuinely think this anime sucked ass this season. The animation, cool. I actually liked the animation from this last episode. I did not like any of the storytelling. But that's basically the list here. I'm gonna save delving into Sanda until next week because we're probably going to have a very long conversation with Arceus about that one. So we are going to capture this, and we're going to move into talking about what the we have left for the year. So, but not before we move into making the post. So it looks like everyone has submitted their entries. So we didn't get anything else. We have the 4 that we got from Jeremy, Arceus, Muffler, and Marcel. So I'm not going to bring the poll up. I will make that after the stream, and we'll go on from there. Everlasting Menstruation had an interesting ending. All of the series with an identical setup. This one was actually a little promising in the end, in the setup for the future / first arc. Anyway, so we're going to talk about what we are looking at for this upcoming week. So Thursday is Christmas. Nah, fucker. So Monday we will be doing the Biggles breakdown. We're probably going to argue to hell and back over my review of Trapped in a Dating Sim. The 27th will be the fall season open mic night. So to all of you guys who are regularly in the chat and everything, I actually have a verification system in mind now. Like, I have an idea on how to do things, and it's literally just coming down to, like, if you are an account that I recognize in the chat, you'll be able to get in. But if you're just someone who I have no idea, have never met you and everything, you have never interacted with the channel, you're going to have a bit of a hard time with that. That said, that's going to be the big thing for the 27th. So after Christmas is when we will be doing our big open mic night where chat is allowed to come in and, we all have a good time and drink and everything and just like talk about the season in review. There's probably also going to be some discussion of the year in general. Sadly, I will be out of town for that one, but I will do my best to listen in. All right. Well, I kind of figure since it's after Christmas. But that being said, the more important announcement is that this Wednesday is Christmas Eve, so I will not be streaming. There will be no CNN on the 24th, on Wednesday the 24th. Because rather than being in here, I will probably be hanging out with family, watching something like It's a Wonderful Life with my mother, and who knows. So you probably will hear from me on Monday with a video or whatever, and on the Bagels breakdown, you will probably hear from me a couple of times throughout the week for just videos. But the 24th, I am not going to be doing anything. Then, on the 31st, on New Year's Eve, is Fictionology. So we're basically going to be we're going to be talking about 4 different movies. Each of the guys picked a movie. Watch Die Hard, the ultimate Christmas movie. Hell yeah. So each of the guys picked a movie. So on the 31st, on New Year's Eve, we will be talking about, let's see. We have Jinro, the Wolf's Brigade. That was what I picked. Ghost in the Shell, which was picked by Muffler Tape. Princess Mononoke, which was picked by Roland. And Batman Ninja, which was picked by Roman. So we'll be talking about all of those on the next Fictionology, and we will be announcing the upcoming year's worth of Fictionology subjects. So everyone's picks and everything, we will be talking about that, as well as some potential special Fictionologies that may or may not have an entire ecchi night. I'm just saying, there may be an ecchi night in February. So that's what we're looking at. Also, I've got a couple of videos I'm going to need to do. I may not do a video on Rainbow Days just because I don't feel like I need to do a bunch of in-depth talk about that, and I need to focus on some of my year-end recap videos that I want to do. So without further ado, we're going to wrap it at that. That's what you can look forward to me for the next couple of weeks. I hope you all have a good night, rest of your weekend. I get one day off, and I'm going to be using it to do a bunch of shopping. So, yay. From there, let's see. Yeah, so from there, I'll see you on Monday. That'll be before Christmas. And then we'll talk a little bit about the holidays and everything. If you aren't around and you don't see the breakdown on Monday, well, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, whatever you celebrate. I hope you enjoy the end of your year. I hope that I can see at least a little bit of you guys in the near future on some of this other stuff. So y'all have a good night. I'm signing off. Time to enjoy what little bit of a break I have before going back to work for the first couple of days next week. I appreciate you, Jeremy Turner. Thank you for the support. Good night.
자.